watching NRA TV with Bill Whittle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hot Mike. Hot Mike, as it turns out, is not here today. There's a strike going on with Los Angeles manicurists, hairstylists, and tanning booth operators. Hot Mike is out walking the picket lines, but we expect him back tomorrow. Till then, I'm Bill Whittle coming to you live from Los Angeles, and we have a very busy day today because we have on our show the person who I would say is probably the hottest guest in the entire country right now. He doesn't have much time, so we're going to get to him as fast as we can to set up who we have today, and it's James O'Keefe. To set that up, I want to just talk a little bit about some of the things that happened yesterday. The situation's developing so fast. So yesterday, we got a video that was released by James O'Keefe's organization called Project Veritas. And in that interview, in that segment, there was hidden camera footage of a CNN producer talking about the Trump-Russia connection. And this is what the CNN producer had to say while he was unaware of being filmed.
Then why is CNN constantly Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
Because it's ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
But honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just bullshit?
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. We don't have any big giant proof. I just feel like they don't really have it, but they want to keep digging. Mm-hmm. And so I think the president is probably right to say, look, you are witch hunting me. You have no smoking gun. You have no real proof.
And the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job, everybody, covering the climate accords. But we're done with it. Let's get back to Russia.
Now, that is some pretty damning stuff. In fact, it's so damning that CNN immediately had to issue a statement, which I think came out earlier today or late yesterday. The official CNN statement said, well, yes, it's obviously our guy, and he's obviously on camera. They're in trouble already. But they said that the producer in question, John Bonifield, is a medical producer. And as a medical producer, he doesn't understand much about politics. He doesn't really understand what's going on in the political section. Bless his poor, dear little heart. So today, we get another surprise from Project Veritas. Seems like it's being handled pretty well over there. If it turns out that this first producer is just a medical producer, what about if we touch on somebody who's not a medical producer? Here's what we saw today from James O'Keefe.
Other presidents tried to say nice things about the Russians and other, warm things in their heart and they love, not in the face of an active attack on the country.
Hey, man.
The Russian thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Russia thing's just a big nothing burger. Really? Yeah. That's Van Jones. Van Jones is CNN's resident Maoist communist. If you didn't know that, it's an actual true story. But he's one of their top political commentators, so the idea that this whole thing is by some medical producer who doesn't know what he's talking about just doesn't wash. It's a perfectly set up trap. It's set up by a genius at this kind of thing, and he's our guest right now just for a few minutes. So please help us welcome James O'Keefe to the show. James, it's a pleasure to see you out there. How you been?
I've been good.
Nice and quiet today, is it, over there?
It's crazy, but it's good. It's exciting. It's what we do. We want to change the national conversation, and this is of extreme public interest, what we're exposing. So it's very exciting,
to say the least. To say the least. Now, James, I'm watching this unfold in real time. You're holding the cards. We don't know what cards you're holding, but I suspect you're holding more than you're showing right now. But what we're seeing here from the outside looks pretty much exactly the way that you and Andrew Breitbart handled these explosive videos back in 2009, I think it was, with Acorn. In other words, you'll make a statement, Acorn will deny it, you'll provide video evidence that this actually happened, and then we get to the stage where we are today, which is where Acorn would say, well, it was just one branch office that was trying to set up a prostitution ring with government funds. CNN is saying, hey, this guy's just a medical producer, and now you come back with the counterpunch which says, okay, here's a guy who's not a medical producer. Here's a top commentator on CNN. They're just walking right into this, aren't they?
They are, and there's so much to say, Bill. There's a kind of media science to it, which you have commentated on extensively, and you and I have talked about personally. It's fascinating to watch. We're kind of screwing with the whole matrix because this guy, John Bonifield, the senior producer in Atlanta, actually is telling the truth. He's not a villain here. He's a whistleblower. He's being open and direct. He's almost naked in his honesty about how the culture at CNN works. So CNN can't fire him. Shame on them if they do that. But they can't not deal with it. It's so devastating to the organization. So what do? They say, this has been the response, he's a producer in Atlanta. He doesn't have any control over any. So today we released the Van Jones tape, and everyone knows who Van Jones is. Van Jones says it's a, quote, nothing burger. The internet breaks. We've broken the internet, so there's all these memes about burgers and nothing in them. It's become a cultural thing at this point. Everyone in the media knows about it, but they can't talk about it because they don't want to criticize their fellow colleagues. They don't want to be critical of the media itself. It's a fascinating thing we're doing. We are hitting them in the gut. And it's all truth. This is not my opinion. This is not me conjecturing or on TV reading from a teleprompter. This is their words. These are what these people actually believe, that the CNN thing is fake. And that's why it's so powerful, Bill. There's so much to say about it. Yes, I do hold cards. I will never release my cards because in order to do this, Bill, as you've said, we have to play the media. They use anonymous sources. We don't even see the material they show us. We don't even know who they're talking to. And yet they have all this credibility. We are at a tipping point in our country where they're losing the credibility. They're no longer Goliath. We're the Goliath. We have the power now. The citizenry has the power. So it's a really exciting thing to behold here, Bill.
I want to come back to that idea about us being the Goliath now, James. And I know I wouldn't ask you to reveal anything about what you've got or what's in store, but do you have more coming as far as CNN is concerned? Can you answer that?
Yeah, we do. We might wait after the 4th of July holiday here. Things are just breaking, and the New York Times is calling. Yeah, we may stretch it out. We got more than just CNN, too. This is the American Pravda series. We've had over a dozen journalists embedded for, at least half a year. So there's going to be installments here every other week, every month for the foreseeable future. It's our main focus. And I fulfill my promises, and I told my audience that I would go after the media and expose their corruption and their disinformation. And yes, we have many cards. This is not the only network.
You are, in my opinion, one of 2 or 3 journalists left in the country, actual journalists. As a person who does undercover reporting and tries to get to the truth, you're not going after a political agenda that I can see, James. You are trying to go for people that do have a political agenda and are calling it the news. What do you have to say about the idea that the news is the news? That the people who used to be investigating stories are now subject of investigations by people, like you said, just private citizens who've become Goliaths simply because the need was so great and the corruption is so deep?
Oh, my goodness. I could talk for an hour about that. What's the 30-second version? The main problem is that these media do not want people to actually have the raw information because they can't trust the people with the information. If people are given the truth, which they have just been given, by the way, if they look at the tape, it's naked. I like to use this metaphor. It's naked in its honesty. This guy is not a bad guy. He's like you or me. He's just saying the whole system is broken. CNN's, crooked. He says that it's a witch hunt. He's saying the stuff that a normal citizen Joe would say. And what my point is that they can't have people have that information because it ruins their narrative. Raw information, if people see it, it ruins their ability to create the narrative. The media literally has to stop information from getting to people in order to advance their political agenda. So when the people are given the information, they're like, well, this changes my perspective on society. I don't believe the same things I believed 5 minutes ago after watching this video. The media can't have that. So you still have a cognitive dissonance on Twitter, like Dave Weigel, the Washington Post, Paul Ferry at the Washington Post. I'm watching what they're saying. They're literally saying they're literally not acknowledging information in the video. They're saying, well, he didn't call it BS. I don't know if I can curse on the air, so I'll just say BS. Well, he didn't say BS. Well, he actually did. He said it's mostly BS. He said this is a witch hunt, and they just say, well, the reporter said BS first. It's a sort of cognitive dissonance that they're doing, and it's literally cognitive dissonance, because the actual raw information that's presented to the viewer, they can't have people see it. It's a fascinating thing to behold. We're looking at the tipping point, and I am so happy, and I'm very proud of our team. I wasn't the one who was in the field on this one, by the way. It was my team for months. That's what I can say. It's the raw information the media does not want you to see, and now where people are seeing it.
Well, this is why I mentioned earlier the release pattern that you're doing. And again, I just admired so much about Andrew Breitbart, because once you release that first video, all of the defenses come up. You just mentioned them. All these tweets from all these so-called professional reporters in defense of CNN. Well, he didn't really say it first, and they get right down in the weeds with it, right? They're going to try and lawyer their way out of what this guy said. And then just when you think maybe they're trying to get this rhetorical save going, you just come across and hit them again with another one. They're just pinned, Jim. You've done a terrific job. Let me ask you this, though. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to make a comment about that. I don't think they have any shame. In fact, I'm about to post a little video, my response to the Washington Post Paul Ferry bill. In the first video, I say, this producer is from Atlanta. I say that in my on-camera in the video. The Washington Post does a hit piece on me a few hours ago where they say, James lied and did not disclose the producer is from Atlanta. I said in the video, the producer is from Atlanta. The Washington Post is just making stuff up. This is not an editorial. This is an article in the Washington Post saying something that I didn't do. And I don't even know. Is it lack of shame? Is it just, let's just say anything to hit James O'Keefe? And now Paul did call me back, and he's saying he may retract that. So I'm just saying that we are living in an unbelievable era.
Yes, about time. They're retracting stories so fast now. The retraction should be the big paper, and then the actual paper should be, a little insert they put in with, here's what we think the news is today. That is so incredible. As a matter of fact, yesterday, James, on the show, we ran a brief clip of NRA President Wayne LaPierre confronting CNN in 2003, saying, "You guys lied about the story," and the anchor gets all up on her hind legs and says, "We don't lie about stories here." He says, "Let me say this again slowly. Your reporter lied about the story. He knew he was lying." This is exactly what's happening here. James, I don't mean to get too personal about this, but I would imagine that somebody who's doing to the mainstream media and government offices what you are doing, I imagine you lead rather a colorful life in terms of what people are trying to do and say to you. Do you get death threats? I know you get lawsuits and all the rest of it. Are you worried about either your safety or the continuing of your business?
Well, this is a question I get asked all the time, and I probably have talked to you about this personally as well, Bill. I never thought about it really. I don't think you can be in a position that we're in and wake up in the morning going, I'm worried about my life and my safety. You have to. The first thing I'll say is you have to be focused mostly on the pursuit of justice. We never would have been able to build this organization with a team of guerrilla journalists if we were focused on that. However, I think in recent weeks it's given me pause. We've taken steps in recent months, even the recent year, to address security things. I won't get into what they are. That would defeat the purpose of doing it. But I take it seriously, and I've taken certain precautions. I don't worry about it. I don't focus on it. A lot of people in this country are worried and afraid, and I have a lot of respect for the citizens. Not everyone's meant to do what I do. People wake up, they take care of the family, they go to work, they practice the First Amendment however they wish to, redress their grievances. Not everyone has to go undercover for a living. But we are wired here differently than the way most people are. We're driven and passionate about what we do, and we don't wake up worried about what they're going to do to me. We take precautions. We are taking precautions. We have taken precautions. And I think we'll be okay. I think there's a moral consensus, Bill, about these stories. I think most people, aside from like the Washington Post reporter himself and the hard left, I think most people look at these tapes and go, that makes sense. I think CNN's full of crap. 85% of people are going to look at the tapes and say that. So I don't think we have to worry about divisiveness, and you always got to worry about the crazies and the people on the extremes, but I think we'll be just fine.
Spoken like a hero and a patriot. I think we've talked about this just before. You know, sometimes people worry about me if they see negative comments. And they say maybe you should tone it down a little bit. And my response is, listen, if I write a piece saying that apple pie is the most delicious dessert in the country, within 3 minutes the cherry pie people are going to be calling me a Nazi and threatening me with bodily harm. It's all a bunch of anonymous losers, and you have the courage to stand up there with your own name and your own face and do the only real investigative journalism left in America. James, I'd love to have you back someday, and because I'd love to have you back, I'm going to let you go now because you said you had 15 minutes. I know you have a very busy day. I can't tell you how honored I am that you joined us today, and go get him, buddy. I'm really proud to know you. You're doing a tremendous job out there.
Thanks, Bill, and we'll be back. Don't you worry, and stay tuned. Thank you.
Okay, then. So, take care now, James. There's one more thing that I had just before we go to the break here, and that's this. Somewhere around a month ago, I found myself with James O'Keefe and Antonia Okafor, who's appeared quite a lot on NRA TV, down at a simulation center down in Orange County. We'll be doing a story on that. We'll actually put some video together. But I just wanted to say that in a live situation with almost 360-degree live video with guns that are accurately responding where your bullets go, all I would say is you don't want to mess with James O'Keefe or Antonia Okafor. They are both just awesome people to walk down the hallway with, and I know when I had her on my side, I felt safe. I felt nothing's going to come at me from that way. Now, as far as my own performance is concerned, I virtually blew off my virtual left toe, but you know, it's kind of adrenalized and you can't really tell sometimes what's going to happen. I almost wet myself, but we saved ourselves that virtual indignity. Coming back after the break, we have some thoughts about all of this. This is Hot Mike on NRA TV, and we'll be right back.
They use their media to assassinate real news. They use their schools to teach children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom, is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
I'm Coleon Noir, and inside this little black box is a new NRA TV app. With it, you can stay up to date with all of your Second Amendment news and NRA lifestyle programming on your HD TV. So download it now. Don't worry, I'll wait.
It is only because of your sacrifices that we have this unique opportunity to defend the one freedom that protects all the others, our Second Amendment. But before we can say that it has been secured and is intact for us to pass on to the next generation, we must face these very real challenges with the strength, courage, and purpose you have proven to possess. Our time is now. We must approach the coming fights with the same urgency and determined action that ended the political future of Hillary Rodham Clinton. That's why I need you to renew your membership, upgrade your membership, join this organization, and be part of the hard work and the victories that are yet to come. You have proven to be ready for the challenge.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Hot Mic. I'm Bill Whittle, and we just got finished talking with James O'Keefe. And just before we came back, you heard NRA President Wayne LaPierre saying, join this organization. It's here to defend your rights. And as it turns out, it's not just here to defend your Second Amendment rights. We're in this fight for the First Amendment right now, and it's really starting to get interesting out there. And by interesting, I mean finally good for our side. So let's just talk briefly about what all this means. What does it all mean? We've been saying that there's been press bias, media bias, forget the whole pop culture, that's something else. But that the information the American people have been getting has been poisoned by selection. Overrepresenting bad stories for Republicans, not presenting any bad stories for Democrats. They've poisoned the information well. And we've been making this claim forever. Well, now James O'Keefe and others have come up with video evidence that admits that not only do they do it, they know they do it. So they know that they're producing false news, and that aspect of it is over. I was on talking with Grant Stinchfield this morning. I make an appearance on his show every morning, and it's big fun for me. I really enjoy it. And Grant made a very interesting point. If we were going to prove libel against the mainstream media, what would we have to prove? Well, the first thing we'd have to prove would be intent. We'd have to prove that they were not only lying, because you can lie by accident. You can honestly portray information that turns out to be false, and that's not really lying. In fact, it's not lying at all. So we'd have to prove that they were promoting false information and knowing it. I think that's what these James O'Keefe videos just did. Secondly, we'd have to prove malice. We'd have to prove that this lying was intentional. Boy, you're going to spend 4.5 years proving malice on the part of the mainstream media. When CNN gives Hillary Clinton one of the debate questions for the debate that CNN is holding, and the reporters openly mock Donald Trump in front of their colleagues, and technical difficulties keep cutting off conservatives the minute they start getting some traction. That seems a pretty good case for malice for me. And then, as Grant pointed out, there's one more hurdle that you'd have to clear if you were going to really stick it to these people, and that is you'd have to prove harm. In other words, yes, what you said about me is a lie. Yes, what you said about me was a lie, and you knew it was a lie. And yes, you lied about me intentionally out of malice. But did you harm me? Did you harm me? So where's the harm in this media bias? Where is it? Well, back in 2004, a guy named Evan Thomas was the associate editor of Newsweek magazine. And Evan Thomas got a chance to talk off the record a little bit and basically said something I've always found very, very interesting. There he is. Evan Thomas, in an interview, said we're openly pulling for John Kerry. We have magazine covers calling them the Sunshine Boys, and Dick Cheney is a cold Wyoming night, and John Edwards is a warm walk in the sunlight, all the rest of the stuff. But he said one thing that is absolutely essential. This is from the associate editor of Newsweek, who'd been in the business all his life. In 2004, Evan Thomas said that he thought that press bias was good for 15 points at the polls. 15 points at the polls. Now, if you take 15 points away from John Kerry, those votes go to George Bush. And so, as a little rule of thumb, I did a little experiment. We know that this was 15 points for John Kerry. I could strongly make the case that media bias is much, much worse than it was then. They weren't particularly in love with John Kerry, but Barack Obama and Madam President, are you kidding me? But let's just take Evan Thomas, Newsweek editor, at his word, and agree that 15 points at the polls is what this media bias costs us. If you take a look at the electoral map from 2008, and you pull 15 points away from Barack Obama, that's the media bias. If you take the media bias out of it, I don't remember the exact numbers, but McCain wins with 503 electoral votes, like something like that. I think Obama carries D.C. and Delaware, something like that. If you look at the electoral map for 2012 and you pull 15 points away from Barack Obama and they go to the Republican, because essentially it's a two-party race, then it is a Republican landslide. The entire map is red. And if you do it with Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, it's blood red all across the map everywhere. And that blood, ladies and gentlemen, is the blood of our republic, which is being bled away by people who are peddling us the truth, when in known fact, they're not peddling us truth at all. They're peddling us lies. They know they're lies, and they keep repeating them because they think that their political philosophy trumps your ability to know. And I use that word very, very advisedly. It trumps your ability to know. Well, guess what, CNN? You've been trumped yourself, not just by the admissions and the revelations of your false news, but you've been trumped by a president who finally, among Republicans, finally understands how all this works. He understands how this game is played. He understands that the left is fighting dirty, that they're never going to give him a break, and they're never going to play fair. Just a couple days ago, we were talking about the fact that there are sometimes press briefings in the White House where the cameras are turned off at President Trump's instruction, and the reporters are having a meltdown. Why are the cameras off, Sean? Why are the cameras off? Why don't we turn the cameras on, Sean? Why don't we have the cameras on? And the press is having a hysteric fit about it. And again, it was Grant Stinchfield pointed it out to me. I hadn't figured it out. But the reason that President Trump decided to turn the cameras off in the press conference is because without pictures, a press conference is not interesting news. He's media savvy enough to understand that if the cameras are rolling and Sean Spicer, look, if you speak for a living all day, sooner or later you're going to see something that you would have regretted or maybe you wanted to put differently. It's not a lie. You just trip on something. He realized that with these daily press conferences and every single one of them being ambushes, he had either the wisdom or the instincts or both to say, okay, sure, we'll still talk to the press. We're going to do our duty and reply to the press. We're just not going to do it with the cameras on. So it's not newsworthy. It's not TV newsworthy. He's got them. He's got them absolutely stuck. And their credibility is going faster than a southbound Edsel off a northbound train. And we're here to keep track of it. We're here to be a part of it as we were today. We're here to recommend guys like James O'Keefe and to thank you for being with us today. This is Bill Whittle's Hot Mic, and we will see you tomorrow.